we'll get to the Tigers. We'll get to the NBA playoffs in a minute. I have to focus on this because this is something that is obviously near and dear to my heart. It is the headline of today's show. It is your favorite basketball team to make fun of. You all know them. You probably, if you're a fan of them, hate this team in a loving way. It's the Detroit Pistons. The Detroit Pistons, if it weren't for the Red Wings in the midst of a playoff chase and their own, kind of collapse, the Detroit Pistons would be the talk of the town. And not for a good reason. Because you know why? Because just a week ago, they clinched the single worst season in franchise history. And they didn't do it on any ordinary night. They did it on Fan Appreciation Night. They lost to the Chicago Bulls at home, a team that they've beaten multiple times in the year. And in losing to them, they got themselves the worst record in franchise history. What joy! What like you couldn't make it up. And then obviously they end their season last Sunday, and they could just get blown out to the Spurs. Cade Cunningham wasn't playing. Jalen Durham wasn't playing. It was the Jaden Ivey and Marcus Saxler show, which, as you can see, doesn't work. Now, originally, I was going to talk about, moving on from this regime. This regime stinks, and this is what has to happen before we talk about, what particular moves need to be made. But last night, as I was watching the Red Wings come back against the Canadiens, I got a little notification on my phone from Bleacher Report that said, and I quote, looking at it right now, Pistons Troy Weaver returning as GM, team to hire new head of basketball operations. I mean, what does a guy gotta do to get fired around here? I saw this, and I was speechless. And you know me, I talk a lot on this show. It's sports talk. I'm here to talk to you. I couldn't believe what I was reading. I couldn't believe that in actuality they were gonna run it back with this absolute hack artist, this complete con man hack who doesn't know, his foot from, his buttocks, right? He doesn't know anything about building a team. And yet, we are going to keep him around. And not just that. We are going to hire a president of basketball operations who's supposed to report directly to owner Tom Gores. And this is supposed to fix the issue? Like, first of all, what you're already telling Troy Weaver is, we don't trust you. We want someone that's on top of you who reports directly to the boss, to the owner, and he gets final say on everything you want to do. You don't trust him to be the GM, so then why even keep him around? And then furthermore, if you don't trust him now after finishing the season with the worst record, what makes you think that adding a babysitter is going to suddenly change the trajectory of this team? First of all, Tom, you hired the wrong guy on hiring Troy Weaver to begin with. So I don't know that I trust anybody who's reporting directly to you for anything, because you don't know anything about basketball and you clearly don't care about the Pistons. You care about, spending a gajillion dollars on a coach who doesn't want to be here. You care about that. But how is this the standard for this team? It is so beyond acceptability in any profession. I couldn't imagine a world where my manager comes to me and says, you know what, Mike, you've had the worst year of your career. You haven't been producing at the level that we expect you to. In fact, you've been below average for the entire time you've gotten here. And in fact, since you've gotten here, production has gotten worse. And also, we're keeping you around for another year. This doesn't happen in the real world. This can only happen in the sports world, where people are so utterly corrupt and negligent that they just don't care. They don't care about the fans. They don't care about the players on the team. Cade Cunningham is rotting away his young development years. And if he never truly becomes a number one point guard on a team, you can blame the Detroit Pistons for that. Because I think he certainly has potential to be a number one point guard in this league. I certainly think he does, but not on this team. And so, knowing that we have this bum, this moron running the team, what do? Well, first of all, I want to get rid of this notion from some Pistons fans that there is an untouchable on this team. I love Cade Cunningham. I have a t-shirt with Cade Cunningham on it. I do not want them to trade Cade Cunningham. I mean, if it was up to me, this team would just magically start winning. That's not real life. Okay? That's not real life. This young core, quote unquote, doesn't work. Maybe they might work individually. Maybe they might work in a different situation. Maybe Jaden Ivey is a really good guard somewhere. Maybe Cade Cunningham is a number one point guard somewhere. Regardless of it, this team has absolutely no draft capital. This team has absolutely no future right now. Certainly not with Troy Weaver at the helm. The only thing I could say is, well, you might as well trade your assets now and just build up whatever you can get and then hope that the next guy, this new president of basketball operations, can miraculously raise this team from the dead in spite of Troy Weaver's horrible GMing. I don't think that's going to happen, but I get a little tired when I hear people like, oh, you can't trade Jaden. You can't trade Ivy. You can't trade Cade. Why not? We're losing with them. We're going to lose without him. You might as well. Like, Cade is your best asset. If you want to get any return that is meaningful, you have to trade a good asset. You have to trade something that somebody wants. Like, this was the problem with the trade deadline, was that you did trade someone that someone wants, but you got a terrible return. Like, you have, and that's why I'm not, fully committed to, like, I want Troy Weaver to make these moves tomorrow. I don't want him to make any moves. I want him to be away. I want him to be fired. I want him to never be around the Detroit Pistons ever again. I want him banished from the city of Detroit and LCA and even the ruins of the palace. I don't want him anywhere near it. And I want the same result for Tom Gores, but you can't fire the owner. Okay? We're stuck with him until or unless he sells the team, the NBA kicks him out, or some sort of scandal involved in his, personal affairs forces him out. We're stuck with Tom Gores until, how old is Tom? Let's see. Tom Gores age. Tom Gores is 59 years old. His birthday is in a couple of months in July. So, assuming he lives a long life of, 70 plus, we're stuck with him for another 2 decades-ish. Probably more. Because he's, a billionaire and he's going to have top-notch medical, support. And, he's not going to, suddenly get a cold and die at 65, right? That's just not going to happen. And I'm not even saying that I wish him to die. That's not, I don't want that to be misinterpreted. I don't like him as my owner. I'm sure maybe personally he might be a perfectly amicable individual. I'm not sure how he is as far as his business go. I've heard some rumors about that, but I'm not going to speak on that because I don't know enough about that. But either way, the thing that really bothers me is not simply that we had a bad season. I've dealt with a lot of bad seasons. We had the worst season ever. What exactly does Troy Weaver and this team have to do in order for Tom Gores to wake up and change something? Like, I just don't understand. You buy a sports team for what exactly? If I were to think, if I had the money to buy a sport, I'd buy a sports team because I want to win. I want to help the team win. I want to be involved in the game. Like, I don't get this idea that you just buy a sports team and, whatever, just do it. I'll just hire some guy that I can be friends with and, maybe we'll sell some tickets. It'll be kind of fun. And, maybe if we're lucky, we'll like make the playoffs or something. It's like, what kind of a world are you living in that you like, for one, the Canadiens just scored. Ugh, great. Off to a bad start. That for one, your world is your worldview is so twisted that you're just like, yeah, well, I'll just buy this team, and I don't really care if they win or lose. The thing that still baffles me as well is that you make more money when the team is good. So why these owners who don't care, like they just don't understand that, like the richest teams, the teams that make the most money, thinking of like, I don't know, like the Dodgers or the Yankees or even like a team like the Cowboys. It's like they make a lot of money because they're good, right? Like they're not, and despite the fact that the Cowboys, haven't won a Super Bowl since the '90s, Jerry Jones still makes a lot of money every single year. Jerry Jones isn't, and the NFL is a little incomparable because all of those owners are more rich than any NBA team owner for the most part. But like, I guess it's getting to the point where I am becoming just so nothing towards the Pistons. Like so numb to the point where basically like my expectations for them as far as wanting to talk about them is if they do something so bad, like if they draft some idiot and I don't know, he like is like a complete bust, or they go on a crazy, like the peak of me making and talking about the Pistons was when they were losing a bunch of games in a row, because I didn't talk about them down the stretch. After that losing streak ended, I think I talked about the Pistons on this show like 2 or 3 times, maybe not even 3. I know at the trade deadline we talked about them, but like outside of that, I don't think I talked about the Pistons because there was nothing to talk about. They were just so laughably bad in every facet. There was no benefit. There was nothing good coming from them. I didn't care to watch them half the time. It would be like, well, I guess they're on, so I'll throw it on. Oh, and they're losing. Wow, great, super. Like I didn't have any drive, and I don't want to be like that for a team that is, historically been pretty successful at various points in time. And Tom Gore is, I don't know, he's just got crack up his brain because he doesn't know what he's doing. And no, like Troy Weaver, you can stick around. Monty Williams, you coach the team to the worst record, you can stick around too. Nothing. Like there is nothing to get somebody. Like I don't know what you would have to do to get fired. I really don't know. I guess you'd have to break the new franchise record. You'd have to lose more games next year. I guess that's what it takes. So, super. We're feeling good. Hey there, what you just watched was actually a clip from a larger show that we do every Tuesday night. What are you doing Tuesday night? Go ahead and hit the subscribe button and the like button so that you don't miss out on any more of our weekly shows every single Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hope to see you there.